And if you want to hold up this big sign like the gentleman there, at some point, please go to the back row and hold them up where the cameras can take a picture of. Other than that, that was my entire opening statement. Mark, I'm prepared to start hearing your concerns and answering questions.
All right, we have microphones out for Congressman Issa, and I have, as you're watching here, I blindly just went into these are the little tickets you have when you came in, all right? Went in there, pulled the
I'm not picking those out.
No, you're not. I don't touch those. You're not. There is no way of knowing if it's they're blue tickets, but they could be red tickets. We don't know, but they're blue tickets. We're just going by the numbers. Here are the first four. Okay, so if this is your number, look for our roving.
Wait. No. You just picked out numbers. What if you rigged it?
Yeah.
Everything's fine. Okay, are you guys good with those numbers?
No.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right, these are all 977 numbers. So look at the last, actually they're 9775. So the last three digits, 758, 9775, 758. You're first up. That's the first one drawn. Then 9775, 637. And last three digits of the next are 751 and 640. So if those are your numbers, look for our roving microphones here, and you'll have your chance. Here's a roving microphone there, okay? Let's take 758, and if you just, all four of you get up, we'll just go to you here and expedite things, all right? Right ahead.
Good morning, Congressman Issa. I'm so glad to speak to you face to face. I've been trying for probably 5 years. But what I'd like to ask you is, there are 11 million undocumented people in this country, and we depend on their labor. Honestly, none of us would have food on our plates without it. So what I'd like to know from you is, what is your plan to address comprehensive, humane immigration reform that allows the people who have been here in this country working really hard for many years to work in dignity openly, and for their families to not have to suffer from deportations that separate parents and children? Do you plan to address it, and when will that be? Thank you.
Okay, Mark, if we all remember the word ag jobs is up on that board. Your complex question is exactly one of the challenges. Your question, and I'm just trying to answer it as fully as I can, your question begs a whole lot of assumptions. And it already assumes a pathway that it hasn't worked, and we've tried to do it for a number of years. So let me answer. First part of your question was agricultural workers. I say this to people on the left and the right in this room. We have to find a way to have an effective agricultural guest worker program, and here's the reason. Even if today we took all 2 million or so people working in agriculture who are here in an undocumented capacity, what would happen is, once we normalize them, they would move off of agricultural jobs, and we would again need another 2 million. That's the history of 1986. So my proposal, and the first part of your question, my proposal has always been, I worked with Howard Berman when he was Los Angeles Congressman on something called ag jobs. We need to transition to something that says to our neighbors, particularly Honduras, Guatemala, obviously Mexico, and a few other countries, if you will work with us on an effective guest worker program, we will open those jobs for extended periods of time to agricultural workers, not their whole families, but to the workers, so they can get 4 to 8 times as much money here and change lives back in their own country. That's what a guest worker program is intended to do. It's not migration, it's not immigration, it's a guest worker. Now, many of the proposals, and all of them that I think that have a chance to succeed in that one narrow category, all make an assumption that it's too late to start from scratch. That the workers, and often their families, are here, and often the families include American citizens. So there's got to be a transition in that deal. But if you don't accept the premise that we have a permanent need for agricultural workers, which as soon as you become a mainstream American, it doesn't represent the kind of hard work, even for $20 or $25 effectively an hour, that Americans do, and they migrate then what we need to do is agree to deal with, and I'm going to call it the sins of the past, the government sins of the past, in an ineffective program, but go to a program that actually says to our partners, particularly South and Central American, or Central and Northern, south of Mexico, that we will make an agreement, but that agreement is a win-win. So that's what Howard Berman and I worked on years ago. It's still what I believe we can do. And it's really no different than the people who come here for summer jobs to work in our resort. That program works much better. Now, for the rest of the challenge, on the high end, we don't have a problem with H-1B and scientists. So what we have is a plethora of other jobs. What we have to do as Americans, and I'm speaking to every American here, but also every American, we have to figure out, are these undocumented immigrants in jobs that Americans will do, that Americans are being displaced by a system that goes through the back door? Hold on. And so the point is, I don't think we have a solution for 11 million people. What we should do is build a set of criteria that is humane, as you said, that transitions from a failed system, which we're in, to a system in which some people come here as guest workers, some people come here as immigrants, and we look at every person who has not otherwise broken laws as a possible person for that conversion. But again, anyone who says everyone here is hardworking and plays by the rules hasn't been to our county jails. You can't say everyone. So, if you're going to be rude, it's your privilege. But if you disagree with the following principles, and I don't understand how you got to agree with believe. One, for everyone in this room, isn't there at least one person, one illegal immigrant that we would like to keep? At least one. And isn't there at least one person that we want to send back to their home country after they get out of prison? Okay, so the first thing we come up with is we all agree there's at least one person, or almost all, and some people think there's nobody who should be deported. We're going to agree to disagree at that point.
Yes, next question. Okay, now I've been told that some of you want to see bigger numbers. I don't make the bigger numbers next time, but let me tell you. Hey, hold on. Okay, just make sure we're loaded as we take a walk. We're going to go through these other three, then we'll draw more, all right? So we have 758, 637, 751, 640. So let's go back down here to the next down in the pool here.
Okay, and she doesn't give up the mic because a two-minute question turns into a 10-minute question.
That's okay. So, Congressman, if I get emotional about this, this is very, very, very
Just relax. These people will get all the time you need.
Okay. My family has been profoundly impacted by mental illness. Both my daughters have been mentally ill and have had treatment. Both myself. Without that treatment, I can't imagine where our family would be today. With insurance under the Affordable Care Act, it has cost our family out of pocket $60,000. That's a lot. How does your proposed health plan guarantee, mandate coverage for mental illness? So I've seen access, but I haven't seen anything that guarantees coverage for mental illness, which was afforded under the ACA. And how does it compare with the Republican proposal that was just announced? Thank you.
We have one, as far as I know, one psychiatrist, happens to also be a military officer and a congressman, Congressman Murphy, who has championed that issue and made sure that each time there's a bill, a proposed bill, or even separately from these actions, has been pushing both the reality of what you're saying, that this devastates the family and it has to be covered like any other catastrophic illness. And also the fact that there's an awful lot that can be done early on that both saves lives and other secondary costs. And for me, I'm not an expert on it. My understanding is, and you asked about my bill, so I'll get to that in just a second. My understanding is we are not changing those mandates, but I can tell you this, Congressman Murphy's vote will require that we not in any way lessen anything available from that standpoint. Back to my bill, for those who haven't looked at what I've been pushing one part of a comprehensive overhaul, and that is the California, we have the largest exchange in California for obvious reasons, but in state after state, the problem is, well, people leave the exchange, either don't get insured or go elsewhere, and people with needs are in the exchange. And of course, that creates an adverse pool, a pool in which the only people in it are people who need more than would be a normal rate of payment. And so what I proposed was that we start with the federal workforce, over 9 million people and their families, who already represent a healthy pool. We add to it the access for a broader array of private employers, small business people who just look for a way to do something for their employees at a reasonable rate. We then add to it state workers, and how this is school teachers or other state workers in the room. Okay, you have wonderful plans. I'm not interested in your plan, but I am interested in your pool, because the fact is state workers are a very healthy, high-paid, compared to the average American, if you will. I know it doesn't feel that way. But remember, at about 35,000, start tipping over. But remember, state workers also tend to have college degrees and so on. If we add those pools, what we do for you is if you're in an exchange, that starts off at a fairer size and pool, and is more likely to attract both people with needs, but also people who simply want health care, and it's that stable pool that allows it to remain affordable. Now, that proposal is strictly to fix what I saw before it happened, that 50 little exchanges were going to tend to some succeed and some fail, and that's what's happening. I believe that a national bidding, 250 separate programs, with a pool of all federal and state and local workers, will give you a base that won't easily go one way or the other, and as a result, will maintain what we would call normal affordability. So I want people to understand what I'm pushing for is just the common sense of, I was a small employer, I guess I'm a small employer again, but when I was a small employer and it got a little bigger and bigger, it wasn't until I got to about 100 employees that I had power to get my employees good plans, even 2 or 3. If you've got 12 or less employees, the insurance companies own you, not her, which was important. Your employees don't get flexibility to do. But we do make sure that there is no rollback of mental illness in this bill as far as being treated like injury or illness. So I hear that. Okay, we're talking 3. I don't know if you have these in order, just so go through the 4, otherwise we'll be your own.
Congressman Issa, I'm Stephen Oceanside with South Oceanside. My question is, since Trump Care eliminates the 3.8% surtax on investment income on individuals making more than $250,000, how much will this benefit you personally, Congressman? According to the financial report filed by you with Congress for the year 2015, the low estimate of what looks to me like investment income was $31 million, and the high estimate was $80 million.
Well, what is it? If you do the math, you want to give me the answer? This is not enough. You do this, John. Thank you. I mean, yes, anytime taxes are reduced or increased, somebody who was fortunate enough to build a pretty good sized company, sell it and put it into purely mutual funds. All I own in that whole portfolio, as you see when you look through it, was mutual funds. Those mutual funds will do in fact turn out both capital gains and ordinary income. And if you take whatever tax and you apply it to that, that's what you're going to get. No question at all. I don't make any bones about it. And why should I? I was never a government contractor. I built my company in the private sector, the consumer electronics industry, and those revenues, quite frankly, yes, they occur, and I pay my taxes. So the answer is, if you want somebody who has no income, who lives on $174,000 and lives in their office, okay, choose that person. Okay. But if you have somebody who divests themselves of every individual stock, puts it in mutual funds, and then takes whatever the revenue that comes from it is, that's what I've done, and I think that's the fairest way. I won't benefit from any particular change in tax policy, and quite frankly, taxes go up, taxes go down. That's not what this bill is about. Next question.
All right, this won't work if we all do that. I love the side. The rear vision thing is great because you can see it from up here and it does interrupt. All right, where's our fourth one here? Here. Yes, sir. And then we'll draw again. I'll draw again while you're doing this.
Congressman Issa, my name is Dr. Kenneth Bream. I'm a healthcare provider. I'm a physician. And I applaud you for getting together the physician and healthcare community and meeting with them and gaining their interest. And it's nice to know that the physician voice is heard. What did you learn from gathering the ideas of the physician?
As I would have said when I was growing up, boy, that's a complex answer, and I'm going to be a little short. I'll just give you a couple of things. First of all, that many of the policies that are not related to the Affordable Care Act are driving up costs, and that we've got to change some of those. One of them that we talked about was the elimination of clinics, which actually operate for less money delivering care. And as those clinics go away in favor of hospital-owned facilities, they may or may not relocate to the hospital, but the cost goes up, particularly government paid. We obviously talked about the pools, and we talked about some of the specialties. And I think that's where, when I look at what's going on in the Affordable Care Act, and I meet with, we've had hospital administrators, we even had one chiropractor there, we had a patient's advocate. What we heard was there are so many things that need to be fixed if we're going to lower the cost of health care, which has absolutely nothing per se to do with insurance. Insurance is more a reflection of the cost of health care. And I think that was one of the important points. And we're not done having those. I asked to have them on a regular basis because some of these policies, and I'll just give you one because I think it's the one most people here don't know about. And it was the one I just mentioned. If you've got a local clinic, probably physician-owned clinic, a few doctors get together, and you go in there and you banged up your knee and they give you an MRI, the reimbursement there is less than if you go to Scripps. Now, I'm not upset about Scripps, but if Scripps buys that clinic and puts their name on it, the amount of money that is paid goes up. And you look and say, well, wait a second. What we're trying to do is deliver health care to people at an affordable price with nobody selling for low cost. But that's one of the problems today is we're seeing small clinics owned disproportionately by non-hospitals disappear, and the net result is healthcare cost goes up. If you don't mind, I'm gonna say one thing that came in since that meeting. Elijah Cummings and I have been seen on TV more than a few times, you may have noticed. But we've done a lot of legislation together. Right now, he was just at the White House asking why it is that we cannot, at least in some part, do what the Veterans Administration does and buy our pharmaceuticals in bulk and get a better price. You may or may not be aware of this, but he got full agreement from the president. And that means that there's a real chance for a bipartisan effort to buy, at least as to the federal government's programs, pharmaceuticals and other devices at a better price by simply buying in bulk. So that's one of the things that Elijah Cummings and I will be working on.
All right, we've drawn again here. I made this clear to notice I shifted to a blue ink.
Excuse me?
Next
Did you
I
get,
use red ink.
is one of your
I'm just
numbers?
trying to be the impartial moderator. What are your last three digits? And then stand up if I call your last three digits. 597 744 742. Those came out just that way. There you are. 597 744 742. Right over here.
I'm a terrible public speaker, but I'm doing this for my son Charlie, who has Fragile X syndrome. It's a developmental delay, and our family relies on Medi-Cal to meet his medical needs. With the cuts, the proposed rollbacks to Medicaid, how will his needs be met as he lives his life?
And again, any statement I make today is about a bill that has only been being marked up in the last few days. So currently, if you're on standard Medi-Cal, there's absolutely no change whatsoever in the forecast. If you're on Medicaid expansion, in other words, a portion of Medi-Cal that covered people not previously covered, then nothing will change until January of 2020. Thank you very much. Then we're working on a series of grants and credits, and I'm looking at that bill the same as you are. What I will say is I'm going to ask a question to all of you, and I'll get the disagrees. I'm ready for it. So, if your child is completely disabled and absolutely no capability of taking care of themselves, and you're a classic Medi-Cal recipient, or your child is, it's a 50-50 deal. The federal government pays half, and the state of California pays half. Under Medicaid expansion, we always call it Medi-Cal, but in every other state pretty much it's Medicaid. Under Medicaid expansion, the deal was 100% for the first year paid for by the federal government, and then 90% thereafter. So one of the questions has always been, and I hope we all look at it from a standpoint of how much skin should the states have in taking care of various challenges, medical challenges. The original deal in Medicaid was intended to be a partnership between the federal government and the states, with the states taking the lead on solutions. So the one thing that always bothered me was the people who were higher up the food chain, if you will, had less reason to need assistance, were getting 90% in perpetuity, 100% originally, from the federal government. I said from day one that the partnership should never have been different. It should have been the same. It should have been whatever the state rate was, 50-50. Some states do a little better. And I will tell you, I continue to champion that in Congress, that we shouldn't have two steps in Medicaid, because if there's two steps in Medicaid and the federal government's paying more, it's always going to be irresistible for the states to say yes, and for the federal government to say, okay, now how do we pay for it? So there is clearly the ability to go in. In your case, it would depend on your economics, whether or not you would be getting prepaid. Then he is a standard Medicaid, and there is no change in, if your child before Obamacare was hey, it's not affordable, and by the way, Obama liked calling it. Back to the point, back to the answer to your question, Medicaid is not being changed by the bill. The expansion was not. So in case of your child as 100% disabled, there will be no change. Thank you.
hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, I love your passion, but were you 597, ma'am? 597. Let's go to 744. 744 next.
Okay. Can I
Right over here.
personal privilege? Who's got a microphone?
Yeah, would you come on up? Come on up here for just a second, sit down.
I know, you're going to have lots of them.
You can tell I need glasses. Would you get the gentleman up front? Because I promised him I'd let him ask a question. There's a lot of people that have the same question. Trust me, I've never met this man before.
Here's the question that I have. My name is Dimitri Demidov.
Ma'am, I need you to have a seat. He doesn't have a credential. Yes, he does, actually. Ma'am, I need you to have a seat. I have a right to vote for my vote, but you have a right to sit.
Watch very closely what's going on in Russia and the politics, especially with Putin, and what's going on now in America. I run a Facebook page called Unofficial Justice where I put links together. So my question is related. It is very much related to this subject. Congress initiated effort of investigations of Trump's ties to Russia. A week and a half ago was defeated on the Republican Party that voted against it and swayed the vote against it. One of them was Darrell, Issa. Repeated narrative about Russia's hybrid war, which includes hacking, which includes information war. Besides the fact that there are reports by intelligence agencies, including joint CIA, FBI reports, available on the government's website, confirming the interference. We have 25 people in the administration of the White House, 25 people that have direct ties with Russia, including President and Trump's son, Executive Vice President of Trump International, Trump's daughter, Trump's senior advisor and son-in-law, Trump Secretary of State, Attorney General, Chief Strategist, Secretary of Commerce, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Campaign Manager and Counselor, Head of Department of Education.
Okay, I think we got it. Thank you. Oh.
Here's the question.
Okay.
I understand, Mr. Issa, that you'll vote against the investigation.
Okay, we get that. Okay. Okay, I got the question, which is what matters.